again. I went from a gang member to a multi-millionaire entrepreneur. Who has read that book? It is amazing. I read it. I read the whole book on our flight to Mexico last year. It is amazing. You can't put it down. If you haven't read it, you need to get it. He regularly appears as a business expert on national television networks such as Magazine, Business Week, Forbes Magazine, and the Wall Street Journal. Here's a quote from John Wooden, UCLA Hall of Fame head coach, and he sums it up very nicely. He is always one step ahead of others, which means there is much we can all learn from him. He is our co-founder, CEO of ViSalus, and an amazing mentor. Let's give a big Seattle welcome to Mr. Ryan Blair.
He's so cute. I'm sorry you can't see him up close, but this is the best I can do.
Ladies.
Oh my gosh. He's so cute!
No, you know what? It's awkward for me. The truth is to sit here and hear all the acknowledgments from such amazing families and just great people. You know, it's a privilege to be here in front of you guys tonight. And my name is Ryan Blair. I'm the CEO of the company. I'm on a founders tour right now, and this is the first time I've been to Seattle before, the first time I've actually stopped and saw the sights. And I'll tell you, I always admired some Seattle-based entrepreneurs. I was a high technology entrepreneur. In fact, in 1999, 95, I graduated high school, and I'm 35 years old for those of you doing the math. My mom had just met a very, very successful real estate entrepreneur. And where I'm from, we had a lot of entrepreneurs. We had import-export specialists. We had people who could tear down a car faster than they could build one in Detroit. We had all kinds of car stereo experts, all kinds of people that were entrepreneurs in my neighborhood. And I was always fascinated because that wasn't my beginning. I was raised in a very middle-class family. My dad was an engineer, and when I was 13 years old, he got addicted to drugs. And unfortunately, he decided that drugs were his path and not his family. The youngest of 6 children. My mother, a beautiful, beautiful homemaker, was a stay-at-home mom. Next thing you know, she has 6 kids to take care of because he disappears. So 4 years later, 1999, I decided I wanted to become a high technology entrepreneur. This is the time when Microsoft and this is the beginning of the internet boom, right? You guys remember that, Seattle?
Oh yeah.
And I always admired these guys, and I'd see them on Fortune and Forbes, and dream about maybe being an entrepreneur myself, because my stepfather, who my mother ended up marrying, was a real estate entrepreneur, and I wanted to do high technology because it seemed like that was a better way. So flash forward, I'll give you guys a good story that's connected to Seattle. So, I started a company called 24/7 Tech, and then from there I started a company called Sky Pipeline. Sky Pipeline got bought by a group called Covad. Any of you guys, do you guys have Covad out here? I don't know. Covad was a multi-billion-dollar high-flying company, and we built a wireless network for Covad. So across all of the hilltops in California, I had a wireless company called Sky Pipeline. When I was 24 years old, I sold it for $25 million. And I remember that number because it was more than $1 million for every year I'd been alive, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So as I just sold Sky Pipeline, I started ViSalus. And I had a party at my house, and I had all these people over. I'm getting to my Seattle-based thing. And I invited a guy over who was one of the founders of Microsoft. And I didn't think he'd show up, This guy's one of the richest men in the world, right? Like there's pharaohs, there's kings, there's Alexander the Great, and then there's the founders of Microsoft, right? In terms of wealth, right? That's the truth, right? You got like Rockefellers, Vanderbilt, you got J.P. Morgan, you got Gates, you got Allen, right? You guys know these names?
Oh yeah.
So in my house comes walking Paul Allen.
Oh my gosh, Paul Allen, woo! Woo-hoo! Where are the Hawks? Go Seahawks, woo! Go Hawks!
And I'm sitting there saying, what have I done? Right? Like these, I study entrepreneurship, I'm a consummate student, and I'm like, what have I done to have, I mean, this is like a pharaoh walking into your house, right? Right? You know what I mean? You guys understand that. And I'll never forget, so I have this art collection, and I have these artists that I've collected, and they're not that, like they're not Picassos and stuff like that, but I think that if I can convince Paul Allen to buy one of his paintings, then my whole collection will go up like, it'll skyrocket, right? So I, of course, introduced Paul to the artist because my only real intention is to, convince Paul to somehow admire the art, buy the artist's collection, and then next thing you know, I've got, a piece of art that's worth something. And I'll never forget, the artist is explaining to Paul the art. I'm sitting there, nervous, and I've got, in the room, I've got real estate moguls, Jessica Biel, Bodie Miller, the skier, all these people that are like very wealthy, very successful, very accomplished individuals. And everyone's eyes are just on Paul as he's walking through my house, right? You can imagine. And so the artist has no idea who he is. And I don't have time to debrief him because I didn't think Paul was going to show up. And next thing you know, the artist is explaining to Paul the work. And, Paul's very unassuming. For those of you guys who studied, followed him, or know who he is. He's not a person seeking the limelight whatsoever. And the artist says to him, I'll never forget, says, what do you do? Right? And all eyes are like on the back of this guy's head. Everybody's pretending that they're mingling, but there's only one person of interest in this room, and it is not me, right? And it's my house. And Paul says, I work in the computer industry. So I share that with you because I'm just an entrepreneur, like many of you in the room here. I've got some great mentors. I've been privileged to work with, some great people in my life. My late stepfather. I've been blessed to have some time with a guy like Paul and some other great entrepreneurs, some great coaches. John Wooden, as they referenced, he was an instrumental man in my life. And so, as the CEO of the company, all I am is a guy that's aspiring to do great things, that looks at the likes of Microsoft and holds myself to that kind of standard, looks at Apple and Steve Jobs, looks at Google, looks at Zappos, looks at the great companies of our time. And I ask myself, how do we as ViSalus, create something that great? And I'm on my 8th year on the job. I just signed another 8-year contract. Yeah. And for those of you, if you follow my story, I'm an extremely spiritual person because I've been so blessed to have such great opportunities come into my life, and I've been able to, to really invest in those opportunities and seize them. Like many of you here today, you have an opportunity in front of you, and maybe, you'll be part of, the next generation of ViSalus, as you heard the ambassadors here in the room. 3 years ago, we were right about to go out of business. The Great Recession had completely taken the wind out of our sails. We just got bought by a company called Blair, and we got bought for, the transaction value was like $32 million, which was, pretty cool. That was August of 2008 when we signed the deal. Lehman Brothers fails in September. Our company is down to $600,000 a month in sales, about $7 million in debt. We were losing $600,000 a month. And we had $600,000 in cash. So for those of you doing the math, we had less than 1 month to live and $7 million worth of debt. And from that place of, and I oftentimes talk about innovation because we've been very disruptive in the direct selling industry. That's why you guys are here today. I imagine most of you guys would not come out to look at another MLM, another direct selling opportunity, but you heard this one's a little different. This one's special. And so we were forced to innovate, and we created a business model that actually is completely different than all other business models out there. Every little decision that you've seen here tonight, from the BMW program, do you know where that was? You know why we have a black BMW? Because when I first started out as an entrepreneur, I wish I had the picture for you, I had a 1978 Toyota Corolla station wagon with wood paneling on the sides. And it wasn't a sexy wood paneling job. I mean, we're not talking mahogany or whatever that is. I mean, we're talking beat up, no muffler, no air conditioning, beat up. And I used to have to park it down the road to go do my entrepreneurial meetings. And what do you think, like, what did I aspire to have? Now, I know a car isn't the measure of a man, and that doesn't really matter, but it is something that if you're in business in this day and age, you know, you got to drive to and from appointments. You might as well feel great about yourself in that process. And the more belief you have in yourself, and the more esteem you have in yourself, and the more your peers and everyone else thinks of you, right, the more successful your business is going to be, right? So that was part of the reason why we brought a BMW program to the masses. Now, some of you are familiar with like other companies that have, you know, pink Cadillacs, and where I'm from, pink Cadillacs aren't cool. Right? You guys follow me, right? So there's a lot of decisions that we made as a company just because I was like, I didn't roll in a pink Cadillac. You know? So we got about 10,000 black BMWs on the road right now. Woohoo! An idea. We sell more cars than any other BMW dealership. In fact, we're instrumental in BMW becoming #1 in terms of surpassing Mercedes in luxury car sales as a result of the contribution of ViSalus and the hard work of all of our promoters out there in the field. So that's just awesome. Some of you guys, you know the old expression, you got to bait the hook to suit the fish. Some of you guys are thinking, I want to get a car paid for. Some of you guys are thinking, like I was, when I was 260 pounds, I just want to get my health together. As a high technology entrepreneur, we didn't value health whatsoever. We valued pizza, Coca-Cola, sugar, candies, and 18 to 20-hour work days. You guys understand that culture, I'm sure, being in Seattle, right? Software engineering culture. I was up to 260 pounds. I was throwing out, I'm about 195 right now. I was throwing out my back. Men in the room, any of you ever thrown out your lower back? Raise your hand if you've ever thrown out your lower back.
Oh, man. Oh, wow.
Keep your hand up if you know what type of excruciating pain I'm referring to in throwing out your lower back. I would give you my pinky finger before I would want to have my back going out chronically as it was. Some guys are nodding their head. It was so excruciating. I had this little apartment. From here to there was the bathroom, and it would take me 45 minutes to crawl, shooting pains. I would sit there in meetings, and I would have to constantly adjust myself. And some of you are nodding your heads. You know what I'm talking about. So I went to the doctor, and I said, Doc, what do I do? What do you think he said? I'm 260 pounds? No, he said spinal fusion. I mean, that's what doctors do. They don't know anything about, preventing a problem before it happens. They just know how to fix you once you're broken. So I'm an engineering-minded person, and I go, well, what's the risk, right? He goes, well, you could be paralyzed. You could never jump again. And I'm like, I don't know this doctor. Who knows how much he had to drink the night before he's going to do the surgery, right? Who knows what's going on in this guy's life? So I said to myself, I said to him, what are the other solutions to this? And he says, well, you can lose the 60 pounds. So that's how I embarked on my health journey myself, having come from a high technology entrepreneur, having had chronic back issues to the point to where I was compromising my life. My back issues went from once every 6 months to once every month. Went from being down and out for a couple days to being down and out for a week to 2 weeks of my month. Some of you guys are nodding your heads here because you know what I'm talking about. So when I embarked on my weight loss journey, I did what a lot of people in the room here. I went out there and I bought every product I could to try to solve the problem, right? Because to me, anything other than spinal surgery was a worthwhile pursuit, right? On top of my refrigerator, there was canister after canister after canister of shake, right? And They tasted, and I know that, you know, I'm highly competitive, they tasted like crack. They would burst in my mouth like chalk. I would get sick and tired of taking, some of you guys, I know that this is a more healthy community than a lot of the places I go to, but sometimes health food is just tough to stomach, you know what I mean? Like a wheatgrass shot, right? I mean, I know it's good for you, but like, how many of you, you know, are sitting there chasing wheatgrass shots every single day? And it turns out that there's a lot of people in the world that are having the same issue that I'm having. And it turns out that the reason why people are overweight is simple, it's food. And it turns out that we're in a food crisis in the world. Rising costs of food. How much does a gallon of milk cost? $5. How much does a pomegranate cost? $5. How much does it cost to get high quality nutrients in your body? Expensive, right? Living healthy is a luxury of the rich in this country. Poor kid in Detroit doesn't get a pomegranate. I know that because we have an office in Detroit. I actually relocated from Los Angeles to Detroit. And so when you look at this food crisis that we have, it's only going to continue. The more pressure we put on individuals, you all know this, right? You've got 2 jobs in a household. How long is the commute to work these days, right? It's only increasing. The more densely populated we are, in the cities like Seattle and others, the more difficulty we have in procuring and sourcing high quality foods. Truth, right?
Right.
Imagine that across the globe. 1.8 billion people right now are overweight, 400 million of which are obese. That number is growing every single day. The only solution is infusing science into foods. Because the nutrients aren't there anymore. You know the old expression, an apple a day keeps the doctor away? You heard that? Do you know that the nutrient value of an apple today is like 1/40th of what it was when that expression first became popularized? 1/40th. So it's 40 apples a day to keep the doctor away. Right? And you know, we have the equivalent of 40 apples plus a number of other nutrients inside of our products. And the reason why is real simple. An apple drops off the tree, right? And we can procure it and put it into our products in a non-perishable form, our shake, our cookies, and so forth. And we can deliver you that nutrient value to a kid in Detroit affordably. You know, $1.50 for a meal. It's affordable. So we're on a real global mission. We think globally, but we act locally. All right? That's why I'm here tonight. So I'm not going to bore you guys with more. I'm actually here tonight to talk to some of our leaders, regional directors, national directors, and above, those people that are embarking on a full-time income with ViSalus, and those people that are already earning one. I'm here tonight to train them in the new Body by Vi 90-day challenge and where we're going globally and how we're going to get there. Because the way I see it is, you know, we all saw how Apple, and I know this is probably hits home for some of you, how it surpassed Microsoft and everyone else in becoming the most valuable company on the planet, right? For a period of time. I think Exxon just got back to #1. And how did Apple do that? They got solely focused on solving one problem, and then from there they expanded on to solving another problem. And we're solely focused on solving one problem as a company: obesity. All right? Now, in order to solve the obesity epidemic, you have to have a number of people. We have to get a number of individuals, a number of organizations. We have to raise awareness. We have to invest in education. We have a $600 million budget solely focused. We did over 600 million in sales last year, 97 million in profit. In the history of business, we went from 0 to 600 million in 3 years, basically, right? Which is pretty. I can't take any credit for that. The person who invited you down here tonight is the reason why we were able to do just that. The product, the challenge, the lifestyle, you know, all the hard work of our scientists, our promoters, our internal executives. All I am is the front man for the band. There's a whole lot of people behind the scenes, 500 full-time, dedicated, very intelligent employees that we've sourced from around the world to build us into a global brand. Our executive team comes from the likes of Disney, you know, a variety of other great companies, Amway, AstraZeneca, Herbalife, and a variety of others. We've created the best team out there. And we're looking for great individuals to help take this brand globally. And so that's what I'm here tonight, is to hopefully meet some of you guys, shake your hands, take some pictures if you'd like to at the end of the event, and sign some books and hang out. So I appreciate you very much. I guess that concludes my part of the presentation. I don't know who I'm handing the mic back to. Thank you guys very much.